Hello, in this video we will talk about the special activity in Spark Workflow, the user profile activity, and explain how to use it to integrate your SharePoint workflow with your SharePoint user profile services to retrieve and use the data in your workflow. Let's see how to do that. From the list that you want to add the workflow for, open Spark Workflow Designer. Create a new workflow. Set the workflow settings. If you are interested in how to create the workflow in detail, you can watch the tutorial video listed in the description below. To integrate your workflow with your SharePoint user profile services, Spark Workflow provides the user profile activity. You can find it under Integration Activities. Drag and drop the user profile activity and configure it. As we see here, you can change the default title or leave it as it is. If you want to get or set data to all users' profiles in the SharePoint user profile service, check this box. We are going to specify the users that we want to get or set their profile data. Users can be entered either manually or based on a dynamic element by clicking on the FX button. We are going to select the username from the item fields. Set the action to get or set. In our case, we are going to select the Get option. Select the user profile property you want to get its value. For example, the first name property, and you have to store the returned data in workflow variables to be able to use them later in other workflow activities. Let's create workflow variables to store the values in them. From the top ribbon, click on Variables. Then click on Add button. Enter the variable name, and select the variable type. You can use the variable to store a single value or use the collection type to store multi-values in one variable. Repeat to add all the variables that you need. Okay, now select the workflow variable you want to store the profile property value in it. You can add other properties and map them to workflow variables in the same activity like this. Then click Save. To see how the user profile activity works, we can use the history log to view the retrieved data. It will show the result in the workflow history list. Let's drag and drop the history log and configure it. Click on the FX button and select the workflow variables. Then click Save. Let's now publish and run the workflow to see how it works. Back to our list. The workflow will get the user profile for this user. Let's run the workflow for this item. From the three dot, click on Workflow and select the workflow user profile. And here we are, this screen for Start Workflow. Click on Start button. As we see here, the workflow retrieved the user profile properties data for the user mic. We just watched how you can integrate your SharePoint workflow with your SharePoint user profile services using Spark Workflow. You will be able to get or set user profile properties data directly in a few seconds. Store the retrieved data in workflow variables and use them on other workflow activities. Follow us to learn more about advances used for SharePoint and Spark Workflow. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and if you have a comment, please write it down. Thank you.